Okay, good morning, everybody. Taylor Rehmet joining us live. He is running for Texas State Senate District 9, and we are so excited to have you join us for this conversation. We do realize the urgency that is happening right now, Election Day, January 31st, and the special election. Real quick, Taylor, I was just kind of teeing my audience up right before I got on here with you on a separate live, just letting them know and everyone that's watching from Tarrant County that this is happening. So can you introduce yourself real quick to the audience so they know who you are?
Yes, a quick introduction of who I am. I am Taylor Rehmet, running for Senate District 9. I was born and raised right here in North Texas, born and raised in Garland, and I'm an Air Force veteran. When I was 19, I decided to join the Air Force. I got out, got back into aviation, and found stability since the Air Force in my union, my negotiated contract. So I got involved with my union, gave back, and just got involved, became someone people could count on. And soon enough, it was about 2 years ago, I became the president of the Texas State Council of Machinists. Now I represent over 12,000 machinists across this state, and a lot of them right here in Tarrant County. And so in doing that, I was so engaged much more with policy here in Texas. I was engaged with the politicians, and I was very discouraged by what I was seeing. It feels like working Texans weren't just being left behind, they were being legislated against. That really made me angry, and I would share stuff online. I would be complaining to my friends and family, and I said, I will have to channel this into something. I became a precinct chair. Soon after that, I was getting involved in looking at other elections, and I saw this one was coming up, and I knew I had to get in. I knew I had to, fight for working folks. I fought for my country. I fight for my workers and my workers union, and I want to fight for all Texans that work, clock in early, leave late, and keep this state running. They should be one of our greatest investments.
Let's start with the big picture as well, Taylor. January 31st runoff. Why does that matter so much, especially for people in Tarrant County who may not usually vote in elections like this? Why does it matter?
It matters because Tarrant County is at a crossroads of where it's been in its past and where it's going to be headed towards. I know that we have a lot of confusing things going on with elections, and people are struggling in this economy. Some don't even have the luxury of being able to stay in tune and get engaged politically. This is really why it matters, because I want to see elected folks be true leaders and service their communities. And that's going to be what this is about, not just here locally, but statewide.
You're running in a historically red district. I feel like that's something that we should certainly address. But also, you just mentioned that crossroads. What do you think voters are seeing in you in this moment in Tarrant County?
They're seeing something different. They're seeing that it's not Republican versus Democrat. It's about right versus wrong. We have a terrible campaign finance system. Both of my opponents in November 4th, the two Republicans, were funded by separate billionaires. One of them almost completely funded. And so this is a big issue. We don't have term limits or anything. And they're seeing someone that comes out, engages voters, meets them where they're at. And actually, I want to talk to them. I want to engage every single voter, no matter what political ideology. I want to find out what matters most. And I know that I have a pretty good idea, seeing as how we've been campaigning so hard and getting to know as many people as we can. And it's just interesting because, again, it's not about red versus blue. It's right versus wrong. And that's why, even though people say, oh, it's extremely red leaning, it doesn't deter us at all, because we know what we have here. We are out here talking to folks, and that's what matters. That's the work that has to be done.
You talked about a couple of things, and I'm going to get to voters in a minute and what you've been hearing kind of on a campaign trail out and about speaking with them. But money, you're being massively outspent in this race. What's your strategy to break through some of that noise and to make sure people still hear your message?
Well, I can be outspent, but I can't be outworked. That's what I like to say. I'm a
Okay.
working man. I turn wrenches, being a machinist, an aircraft mechanic, and that work goes a long way because you can be outspent, right? My opponents back in November 4th, they spent a combined of $6 million almost, and I spent 150,000, but I almost won it outright at 48%. That's because the thing that's more expensive or it's honestly priceless is the trust of your community. The fact that we have the public's trust betrayed by some of the policies that have been going through legislation. I was able to gain their trust of teachers, union members, workers, parents, and so I think that that's what we're really channeling here is that you can go ahead and spend all the money you want, but if you're not going to actually do the work, it's just doesn't translate.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. Carla, I see your comment saying it's cool to see Taylor on here. He's a candidate actually doing the work. I do want to ask you this, especially when it comes to doing the work and working for working people. That was a lot of words. Anyways, what does that look like in real life? And I want you to get a little bit more specific with me, like from schools to, we know we got a funding issue with schools, wages, rent, groceries. What overall, I know you can't give me all the details, but
Yeah.
what's your plan for some of that?
Oh, I'd love to dive into it. First thing, the voucher scam. Sending
Come on.
public money to private institutions, this is diabolical, okay? And this is, to me, what they've been doing. They've been giving out subsidies and tax breaks to these rich billionaires and these really outside Texas money that's getting invested here. And I feel like if you're going to invest in Texas, it has to be full price. But when we're talking about our public schools, something that should be held sacred, in my opinion, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. And I'm sick and tired of any politician that would vote for this voucher scam. They should definitely be challenged because what we have to realize is these public schools educate even kids that are expensive to educate, but they're worth the investment. There's no better greater investment than the future Texans we have here. So whenever these private schools are getting vouchers for kids that are already getting private education, we're just subsidizing rich families. And even so, they don't have to have the same standards that a public school would. In fact, they can reject kids based off anything, any discriminatory thing, anything with, they could just say you're more expensive to educate. No, we don't want you here. And so I don't believe in that. The Texas Constitution says we must have free public schools. Anything like this
Yeah.
voucher scam to me is a shot against that. There's more things we could go into on this. One of the other things is the wage in this state. $7.25 is an insult in this economy. What are we doing here? And some people even say, well, no one's actually paying that. Well, that proves it. That means that it's ineffective. We need to figure out what it actually needs to be, and we need to index it to inflation. And someone has to start those conversations. We have to start looking at this.
What about conversations surrounding rent and groceries? At this point, I just came back from the grocery store this morning trying to get ready for this winter weather that we have coming our way. And it's just me. And I spent over $100. I'm like, I just wanted a few little things. And so what advice or feedback do you have for those Texans that are like, man, my money is just stretched thin at this point?
Yes. My advice would be to get active politically locally. I mean, we cannot change this unless we get out there. It's past sharing stuff online. It's past complaining to our friends and family, which is good to do, but we have to take actions now. And that means wherever you're at, find out through your local party and get involved, see what you can do, volunteer. That's what this is really all about, because I feel like if we're frustrated and we're going through things, if we don't put action behind it, then it could be a waste of energy. But to answer your question, people are struggling out here. We have people even struggling but choosing between eating and their cancer treatment. I had a director of a cancer center tell me this personally in one of my events, and I'm like, this is why I'm running. We need to figure out these issues. And again, we are actually one of the biggest producers of agriculture and yet we still have high prices. We actually send a lot of it out of state, and that's a lot of stuff, and we actually import others. So we need to start having these conversations and looking at these. And I believe that there's some stuff that needs to be broken up. A lot of corporate power is consolidating, and it's really to our detriment. But even going back to, you said the rent is increasing, and to me, I feel like it's getting a lot of people even to a worse place. So I hate to hear it, and I hate to see it. That's why I'm so motivated and passionate to run in this election and to fight for people, because we really need a champion in there that's going to talk about these issues.
I want to go back to schools for just a second, Taylor. What's your plan to protect educators and teachers specifically who are struggling? You know, we talked about affordability. You know, some of them are doing campaigns just to raise money to get supplies for classrooms, things like that. What are you going to do to protect the educators and the teachers who are just trying to do a very difficult job? And, you know, every time they turn their head, something new is coming up from the administration.
Yes. It's extremely sad to see, because I'm a product of public schools. I still talk to my elementary school teacher that helped me, and she went to my graduate. I mean, it's really community building at the very base level, and it's more than just a job. It's a passion. It's a passion that's getting really abused by the conditions that they have to put up with and the rules that they have to put up with. They need help. They need more support staff. They need more teachers, higher pay, and we need to fund their supplies for the classrooms. This is the bare minimum. I think that when we look at the voucher scam and being able to take that back and destroy that, use the funds, for instance, the rainy day fund, which has over $20 billion in it, and it's growing, we could really find innovative ways to increase this funding for public schools and even lower property taxes, because we could have the maintenance operation taken over by the state, which historically had done a lot more in the past. So there's a lot of ways we can talk about these issues and find real solutions to help people have affordability, but also make sure we have the best in class education. Because I believe we should absolutely have the high standards that they want to put, but they don't give us the funding to meet those standards.
Yeah.
It's sabotage.
Yeah. The field you're running in, Taylor, is loud and very polarizing for a lot of folks that are trying to keep up and pay attention to what's going on. What's keeping you grounded as you're doing this work?
That's a great question. What is keeping me grounded is the fact that I get to come out here, I get to talk to these voters that are sharing the same things as I feel, where I am frustrated. I talked to a teacher a few weeks ago. She was having to come in early, leave late, take care of her own two kids when she got home, and still grade papers and prepare for her next day on her own time. This is, to me, this should never happen. We have to get these teachers more help, and it's the fact that I know that whenever I have that voice in the Senate, I'm going to be able to start moving the needle. I'm going to start championing these issues and coalition building, and I'm going to make real change, because they're so worth it. This has to happen. So that keeps me grounded. Also, I have a great team. I have a wonderful team,
Yeah.
a scrappy team that punches far above their weight, and they keep me so uplifted.
What else are you hearing from people on the ground that keeps you pushing forward? What are things most important to Texans right now? I saw a poll not too long ago that basically said specifically 67% of Texans are worried about affordability. And then directly underneath that was specifically healthcare and things like that, right? So what are you hearing directly from the folks in Tarrant County about issues that they're worried about that keep you want to push forward with the policies that you care about too?
Well, a lot of what we said, we've already covered. There's been some other outlier issues that I want to make sure that I address, because one of them's public transportation. We have a lot of people with disabilities that, for instance, someone having a stroke, not being able to drive, for instance, someone who may be blind. And I would like to see an increase support for public transport. It would also hopefully make I-35 a much easier thing to be on, because sometimes it's so frustrating. So
It is.
there's some ideas we got for helping that. That's one of the issues that really touched my heart, for some of the constituents I was talking to.
What I used to live in Chicago. I'm a Texan. I'm from Houston, but I used to live in Chicago.
Mhm.
And when I didn't need a car in Chicago. I could ride the bus, the train, et cetera, everywhere. And so when you talk about public transit, what exactly does that look like, right? You said you have some ideas, but what does that look like for folks who basically can't get around?
What it looks like is it's an investment, right? I mean, anything we look at, are we going to get a return? With public transportation, we do. We get a return in commerce and affordability, the thing that we were all talking about, but we also get a return when it comes to people wanting to participate and move here. We need to see these increases. It's going to have to be done carefully, and it ain't going to be quick, but we can do it if we start having these conversations and start advocating for it and building a plan that actually makes sense.
I do want to talk about turnout a bit. And Juliet, thank you for your comment. She says, vote at every opportunity. Affordability is on the line. 10 items at nearly $50 at a grocery store is insane. Charmaine mentioned her daughter is an educator. Her daughter told her this morning she's putting together a lot of things to support Black History Month for school. And she doesn't even have the money to go and purchase those items, but she wants to do something for the kiddos. So thank you guys for your comments. We certainly see them. You've got endorsements from both longtime Democrats and even a few Republicans. What does that bipartisan support say about the kind of leadership you're offering?
That means I will do anything it takes to make change for the people that are here struggling. That even means if I have to talk to Republicans, I'm not going to snub my nose to anyone when it comes for who I'm supposed to represent. This is about unity, not this campaign of outrage. People are tired of the campaign outrage. We should be outraged about why we can't afford to live in the state we love. That's what we should be outraged about. What we're really looking at here is that someone wants to create new legislation or something. We have to make sure that it's done right, and we have to have support from both sides. We haven't been seeing that. We've been seeing a lot of things pushed through by Republicans in this past legislative session. And I think that if they're going to push anything through, I like to champion these issues so we can get some wins as working Texans.
I want to talk about turnout. Texas, historically has struggled when it comes to folks turning out to vote in some of these elections. A lot of folks don't realize that this election is happening. What's your message to them right now? And what happens if they sit this one out?
If they sit this one out, they're not using their right to vote, which I would encourage them to do. But it's also, we're going to have bad weather during early voting. So Friday, Saturday, folks, please be careful out there. I just want to say, if you can, you should, but it's risky. So be careful and be safe first. Other than that, I would say that there's a lot of issues, but we can see this as again, maybe a domino that would effectively show that we need good policy. We need people that are focusing on bread and butter issues. So this is an opportunity to use your voice to show that the issues we need to stick to. No more of the campaigns of outrage and all this stuff. We need to focus on unity. I mean, we all want similar things. We want safe streets, good opportunity for our kids and our and for ourselves, but also to make sure that we have people like my parents who are retired now and are wanting to have the dignity and respect in retirement, not face affordability issues, potentially having to get a job. So in their retirement. So these are what's at stake here. So I hope that everyone can get out and vote if they're safely able to do so.
Yeah. And I love how you keep mentioning safety. Folks, 2021 was a year I will never forget, being on air during the winter storm that we had back then. I never wish that type of a day on anyone. So yes, of course, please be safe, which is why we're encouraging you, if you can do it today, even to go and make it happen. And it goes from the 21st through the 27th? I want to make sure I'm clear, because we've had so many dates happening.
Understood. It's the 21st of January was the first day of early voting, and it goes through January 27th. Last day to vote is January 31st.
Okay. Last thing here. If someone's watching this interview, they're still on the fence. What's your message to them? Why should they vote for you? And that's really it. Just sum it up for us.
Sure. Well, if someone's on the fence, I would hope you'd go to my website, taylorfortx.com, so you can check me out and read about my policies. I'm someone that wants to represent everyone, and I don't believe you can represent anyone if you don't love everyone. I think that's extremely important, and I wish we had a lot more electeds that thought that. So I'm here to say, go to my website, taylorfortx.com, and we're going to fight this affordability crisis. We're going to get these schools funded, and we're going to get a lot of help for our retirees.
I know Taylor mentioned go to his website, but go to his social media too, because his team has been on it. I'm sure he has too, but they putting in work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm just going to say that.
I love my team. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Taylor Rehmet, thank you so much for taking time. And I'm going to say this publicly. Jake, thank you so much for making this happen. That's Taylor's campaign manager. So
Yep, that's him.
I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Have a good day. And I will make sure that I share some of these clips to hopefully get more folks out there to vote.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye.